Next question. I have a question for you. Would you classify Phantasy Star Online as an MMO or an online RPG? Also, what would you classify Phantasy Star Universe, because it has persistent lobbies, but outside the lobbies is instances based, which reminds me of Dungeon Fighter Online. Sorry in advance for the terrible grammar. I'm going to lean toward it being basically Guild Wars with science fiction. It's an MMO. I don't think it really follows the definition of a massively multiplayer online RPG with a persistent world the way that we traditionally think of a persistent world. There's just too much instancy. It's more like Guild Wars. The online component, honestly, of those games, I don't have that much experience with, though. No doubt further inhibited in that the server is no longer here. So I could be wrong on this, because my experience with the online features is pretty limited. Yeah, I played it for a couple hours and then lost interest. But I could be mistaken, but I think it's more like Guild Wars, which is not a massively multiplayer online RPG. Humafrag asked me, why do you have so many trolls? I mean, it's ridiculous. So much hate in so little time. It's surprising how cruel people can be. I suppose it's because there's a lot of petty people out there who have nothing better to do with their life than harass other people on the internet. And it's kind of sad, really, and it doesn't really deserve any more thought put into it, I think. I don't understand crazy, so I try not to think of why they're doing it. It's just some people are petty, so. Larry Bundy Jr., you asked me a question. I've already answered in the comments, but I'll answer it for everybody else if they're wondering as well. Your question was, have you ever shown your pinball machine in a video, dude? I'd love to see that sometime. The answer is they work. They're technically mine. They're passed on from my grandfather, my other side of the family. They used to be in his shop, and she gave them to my mother to give to me someday. She's had them since I was like 10. They work, but they need to do rubbers and stuff. I remember playing them a bit when I was a kid. But I might put them in a review eventually. I might. When I have my house, which the loan should go through, I hope next week. There have been a lot of difficulties involved. It's mostly because it's HUD. If you're familiar at all with the United States, HUD is basically a government. I think it stands for something urban development. It's basically that they're houses that have been repossessed. The government owns them because they bought out a bunch of banks and mortgage companies and stuff like that to prevent our economy from collapsing. And now they're trying to get them back in the hands of taxpayers so that they can make money off the taxes, because the government's not really in the business of owning real estate. They're in the business of collecting taxes. So, but to work through them is tricky. They want lots and lots of paperwork that I guess the mortgage companies aren't traditionally used to acquiring. It's been a ride, but we're almost at the end. It's the final. HUD has the package now, so they have to answer in like 7 days. So I'll have the house soon. Maybe I'll do the pinball review then. He who enjoys the vids, you asked me, I want to learn more about the strategy RPG subgenre. Some history on it would be nice. I have parts of a script for such a video. I actually started on it after I made the History of JRPGs video. Why I haven't finished it. In order to really fully explore the history of strategy RPGs, there's a lot of games that are only in Japanese that I have not gotten around to finding English patches for, so I can actually play them and fully understand them. Otherwise, the script is mostly done. I just want to be sure on a few things. So you'll eventually see it. I don't know when, but you'll see it eventually. It's on the chart. That one I can definitely do without having to do tons of research. Now, there's a much larger project I want to do on the history of massively multiplayer online RPGs. That is a monumental task. I want to make a full documentary on that and interview some of these guys before they are no longer with us. because a lot of them are getting up there in the years. And I think it's important to get a chronicle of what it was like and what they were thinking when they were making these games straight from the horse's mouth, and not have it regurgitated to us through press releases and crap like that. So that's a much bigger documentary that I want to work on. Hopefully I can get the ball rolling on that in the next year, I hope. But that's on the agenda, is more of these history of the different subgenres of RPGs. To do that. Definitely am trying to do that. It's definitely on my agenda. Mr. HP25, you're also noticing a lot of people are interested in game design mechanics, and you want me to do more episodes like that. As I said before, definitely going to try to do that. You know what? Is there like a particular type of mechanic you guys want me to talk about? That would help me narrow down the focus and see what you guys really want to hear about. So, like, pick some mechanics that appear in RPGs or anything really, and say, you know, make a video about this, and I'll see what I can do if I can make a good video for it. Capid Beak Lini, I still can't pronounce her name. Also, as a double post my questions, hey, do you think the RPG genre is shifting? I noticed that over the years, more games are straying away from old school turn-based combat system and going for more of a real-time combat system with some RPG elements. I don't necessarily agree. Real-time combat systems have been around for a really long time with the RPG genre. I don't think there's really a shift toward it. I think that there's just... what's a good way to put it? It's like a perception. There's a perception that there's more of a shift toward it because a lot of the games that are pretty good and highly marketed and hyped happen to be real-time based, mostly real-time based system games. But I don't think there's more of a shift toward it. I can't really speculate. I guess I can only speculate on the reasons why some game designers are doing more real-time based systems. Maybe they just wanted to do something different than they usually do. I don't know. But a lot of the companies, like Square, for example, they've been making action RPGs for a long, long time. Nippon Ichi, they made, let's see, how many have they made? I think I can only think of one. That was the Disgaea spin-off, the Prinny, but they published several of them. And some of the people that have been developing those, they've been doing it for a while. So it's not really a new thing. I think it's just a perception that they're moving toward real time. I don't think it's really an actual shift. Ahitech, you've asked me, why do you think Western developers are hesitant to branch out when using game mechanics? I.e., why does everyone have to use D20? Are you talking about video games, or are you talking about computer RPGs, or both? If you're talking about tabletop RPGs, everybody started using D20 because D20 was Dungeons & Dragons, and you could make material that was compatible with Dungeons & Dragons, and it was basically a system that, as being based on Dungeons & Dragons, everybody's familiar with, so the learning curve was a lot less. Even if you're making big changes to the system, like, for example, Fantasy Craft, or Mutants and Masterminds. People can basically pick it up real fast because they're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 or 3rd edition. That's the explanation for why there was so many D20 games. There is a movement away from that, like lots of people are going into Fate now, but I don't think there's as many D20 now. It's pretty much just everybody's doing Pathfinder compatible stuff, which is basically D20, but with a couple subtle changes. As for video games, I don't think necessarily people are always doing something D20 based, but definitely inspired by Dungeons & Dragons. I suppose the reason is because a lot of people start out in game design by playing Dungeons & Dragons, and most of their... what's a way to put it? A lot of people take their homebrew Dungeons & Dragons and they think that would make a really awesome video game, and that's exactly what they do. So I think that's part of the reason why a lot of them, the mechanics tend to carry over. In Japan, um, the tabletop RPG culture exists. I don't believe it's quite as prominent among game designers of video games, at least. It's more of a indie thing, from my understanding. It's more of an indie thing. So when they make the video games, they experiment a lot more, and the algorithms are very different than are used in like something like Sword World 2.0, for example. It's very different mechanics. And also because they realize that they're working with a computer, therefore they can run these really crazy algorithms, like you would see in like World of Warcraft, for example. As for the fantasy genre, it's probably because of Dungeons and Dragons, the influence that it has on people as they grow up and want to make games themselves. The other thing could simply be because fantasy is the extremely popular genre, and a lot of games, period, are based in the fantasy genre, not just computer RPGs. So it could be a perception. But I do think that, at least as far as companies and investors are concerned, they want to stick with what's been done before and just build slightly upon it so that there's enough change so that it's a different game, but there's not so much different change that players aren't familiar with what it is. So that could be a reason why there isn't a ton of difference, I suppose. That could be the reason. So hopefully that answers your question. LolWizMe679 asked me, what do you think about Elder Scrolls V Skyrim? Looking forward to it. I don't have a solid opinion on it yet because I don't know enough about it. The details, hope it'll be really cool. Haven't played it. That's my opinion. I gotta wait till I play it and then I'll try to form more of an opinion on it, or at least until I know more about it. The information that's come out right now I don't think is really enough to really form a strong opinion on. Unlike the Old Republic, which I think there's enough information out for me to pass judgment on that, but I'll leave that for a different video. I think that is all the questions. So, this video ran much longer than it should have, but I thank you for watching it all the way to the end. Post your questions below, and definitely ask me what game mechanics do you want me to talk about more, and what type of videos do you want to see me more. Not reviews, but informative game design videos. What type of videos concerning that topic do you want me to make? Post it below in the comments. You can also do a video response. If you do it as a video response, I will definitely approve it. Thank you.